Italian Football Podcast.
Let's start off with Gigi Buffon, who has now announced his retirement at the grand old age of 45 after an incredible 28-year professional career. So, Nima, how do you possibly sum up the career of Gigi Buffon?
It's very difficult to sum it up because I my very, very first memory of him is watching his debut against Milan at the Ennio Tardini for Parma when he was 17 years old against Milan with Vea Baggio, and he was the man of the match, a goalless draw during the era when the Serie A was the best league in the world. Probably, during an era where every world-class player played in Italy. The era that I don't think it's possible to ever be replicated again. But it was that game. I remember I was like, who is this 17-year-old? Because it wasn't just that he kept a clean sheet. It was a fantastic saves, the way he communicated with the defense. And that defense was pretty damn good itself. Just go and look at who started there. It was truly, truly, everyone was like, wow, what did we just witness something historic here? And we did. That was the beginning. Because after that, of course, he became Gigi Buffon a few years later. And of course, when Parma's financial woes hit them, he went to Juve and became a club legend there. And he really does have some incredible records to his name, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, his records, the list of records, there's too many to sum up on this pod, but most Serie A appearances, most career club appearances by an Italian, most Scudetti won, the record for minutes without conceding, going almost 1,000 minutes of football in Serie A, 10 consecutive clean sheets, the most clean sheets in the history of Serie A, the oldest player to win the Scudetto, the oldest player to play for Juventus, the second oldest player to ever play in Serie A, the oldest goalkeeper to save a penalty, the most Serie A appearances and the most Champions League appearances for Juventus, the joint most World Cups played in, 5, and it would have been 6 if it hadn't been for the failure to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. He would have gone to a record 6. No one's ever done that, and maybe never will. So it's unbelievable, and I think the longevity of Buffon's career is and for how long he played at a world-class level is what stands him apart from all the other legendary goalkeepers that there have been in the past, and it's what makes him the GOAT of goalkeepers. I mean, this is someone, like you said, debuted at the age of 17 in 1995. He played for 28 years, but for most of that time, for a good quarter of a century, he was playing at the highest level and at a world-class level for most of that time. And he was already world-class and playing for Italy as a teenager. And over 20 years later, at the age of 39, he was named the best goalkeeper in the world at the Ballon d'Or ceremony. So no goalkeeper in history comes close to that longevity, and that longevity at the very, very top. He was like, I think, the Paolo Maldini of goalkeepers when you look at it that way. It is the amazing.
Reason why I think he's the greatest of all time is because there are goalkeepers who have won more than him. I mean, what's his name? His name eludes me. Real Madrid goalkeeper Casillas. He's won the Euros twice. Buffon never won the Euros. He's won more Champions Leagues. Buffon's never won the Champions League. But the longevity is what does it for me. The fact that he was, he was named the best goalkeeper in the world at the age of 39. He was unbelievable for such a long, long period of time. Let's remember, Casillas was fantastic at a young age, but he quickly fell off in his 30s. Yeah.
I mean, he was finished by 32, 33.
Yeah,
he was
completely
finished at the top level.
Completely finished. Buffon kept it going, like you said, for 28 years. And for 24 of those, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. And that's truly, truly remarkable. And that is why I think for me that he is the greatest. The longevity
And then when you look
level.
at his qualities as well, I mean, he was the complete goalkeeper. He had everything. He was an incredible shot stopper. He was perfect in the air, from crosses. I don't think there's ever been anyone that's was as safe as him as on crosses. The way that he commanded the box. No one's commanded the box, organised the box, organised his defence, positioning, perfect positioning.
Perfect positioning.
Perfect positioning. When to come out, how to position himself on angles so that when, he's going at the near post, getting in the right position so that you don't leave too much of your near post open, you don't leave too much of your far post open, narrowing the angle when you're coming up for a one-on-one, exactly where to be positioned. He was perfect. Great communicator from a young age, a great leader, a great example for the others, but also someone that had incredible confidence. We saw that especially when he was young. He was a very, very confident person, confident as a teenager. He changed slightly, became more, a different type of leader, an example to follow when he got older, brave. The only weakness I would say for a while were probably penalties. He wasn't the best at, but he even got great at them later on in his career as well. And if you look at the record of penalties saved, he's actually right up there at the top as well. And so, I mean, he was the complete goalkeeper, and there's just so many special memories. I mean, that debut in '95, I remember watching it as well. The saves from Badjo and Weah and Boban, and the way he threw himself. But then I also remember the debut for Italy against Russia in 1997. It was a World Cup playoff against Russia, two-legged playoff. They were playing in Moscow in the first leg, in the snow with an orange ball. The snow was 3 inches deep. It was thick. There was couldn't see any green on the field. Awful, freezing, sub-zero temperatures. Paluca gets injured early on in the game, like 10 minutes into the game. On comes Buffon, 19 years old. And honestly, everybody's thinking the same thing. Everyone's thinking Italy are going out. Italy are not qualifying for the World Cup. You go into Russia in the winter, the deep winter, in those temperatures, with those conditions, with a rookie goalkeeper. Buffon comes in and he's absolutely magnificent in that game. And in Italy, they draw 1-1, and then they end up winning the return leg, and they go to the World Cup. I mean, I remember that. I mean, so many amazing. The save from Inzaghi in the 2003 Champions League final, I think, for me, that's his most memorable one. It obviously didn't result in a victory, but I remember Inzaghi's expression when he took the header. I think it was a header, wasn't it? The cross come in, he put it towards the near post, and he thinks he scored, and then Inzaghi's reaction, like kind of like everybody else, like, how did he save that? Like, what? Like, he couldn't believe that Buffon had made that save. And then, of course, the 2006 World Cup, where he was faultless, conceded 2 goals all tournament, and that was an own goal.
Zaccardo with the most weird old goal I think I've ever seen. And of course that penalty that was barely over the line.
From Zidane in the final. So I mean, he basically didn't concede a goal. I mean, he wasn't really beaten in the whole tournament.
No, I mean, the World Cup final, the Zidane header to me is just insane. What he does there. And in the semi-finals as well, there's I think it's Schneider who's a fantastic shot.
Yeah, and Podolski in the extra time as well.
He is. Now, for me, the longevity and above all, for me, a good goalkeeper traditionally, because I think that role is changing now. It's going through a metamorphosis of what the new goalkeepers is. The new goalkeepers are going to be, and I think Mike Mignon is the perfect embodiment of that. But regardless, for me, it's this man's ability to the rebounds. The rebound that he never gave any rebounds, and the ones that he did were always to the side. It was never straight out. He didn't suffer from Handanovic syndrome, as I call it. Great save, straight out. Always, always. That's why I think what will stop Vicario from becoming a really good goalkeeper too. The rebounds are always straight out.
That's part of it, like also his understanding of the game, isn't it? Like he always, he learnt and knew that, that was part of being a goalkeeper is limiting the chances to the opposition.
I mean, that's why it's so important, and I think that's why I think Vicario will never be a world-class, top-class goalkeeper. I think he'll be a great goalkeeper, but I know he'll be world-class because the rebounds are too straight out. and with Buffon, you never had that.
And also Buffon, all goalkeepers make mistakes, but Buffon certainly made less mistakes than fewer mistakes than anyone else. I mean, again, you look at Donnarumma, who obviously is phenomenal in what he does good, but Donnarumma is not as complete goalkeeper as Buffon, not even close. He's not as good anywhere close as good on crosses. He makes more mistakes than him, and so I mean. There's been legendary goalkeepers in the past: Yashin, Banks, Sepp Maier, Dino Zoff, of course, Schmeichel, Manuel Neuer, Casillas, who you mentioned before. These are all great goalkeepers, but when you add everything together, including the longevity,
I think Zoff is the only one that comes close because he won everything, and Zoff is the only one I think that comes close. To be honest, but it was a different kind of football then. It's difficult to compare eras, but I think for me. Zoff and Buffon are head and shoulders above everyone else.
The only regrets, of course, is that he never won that. I mean, the Euros as well, not winning the Euros, and he went close.
But he was unlucky with Italy as well, wasn't he? I mean, the injuries that prevented him from being the starting goalkeepers in France '98 and Euro 2000.
Well, he wouldn't have been the starter in France '98. He wasn't injured in France '98, but he was injured for 2010.
Yeah.
He was injured, and then obviously 2018 he didn't qualify. But also in 2002, they got cheated in 2002 World Cup by UEFA and the referee.
FIFA,
and then,
not UEFA.
Sorry, FIFA. Yeah, well, same thing. Same thing. It's different mask. Same face, different mask.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
And then 2014, Italy didn't have a good team, but. But I think the big regret is obviously the Champions League. That is a big regret. 3 finals, and that was the one that he really wanted, and I think that's the one that most kind of neutrals wanted for Buffon himself. But he didn't manage that, but that doesn't stop him becoming the GOAT. So all the best to Buffon. He's now going to be the new head of delegation of Italy's national teams. He's going to take the job of the late Gianluca Vialli. So let's see if he can. Let's make sure we qualify first. Let's see if he can win a Euros as a part of the delegation.